Hello, scholars and colleagues. Welcome back to the Finish Line Roundtable podcast, a scholarly discussion where academic journeys come alive. I am your host, Dr. E. Jean Pemberton, and in this episode, we are going to break down the research process for Chapter 1, which is known as the Introduction Chapter. We will explore what makes a strong structure, how to write in a way that connects with your readers, and why clarity more than complexity wins every time on your research paper. So I encourage you to grab your notes or open up that blank document where you are about to turn your research into a wonderful document. Joining me, his name is Dr. Mikos Smith. So, Dr. Smith, go ahead and say good morning or good afternoon or hello to our listening and watching audience.
Good day, everybody. My name again is Dr. Mikos Smith, and let's go ahead and get to it.
Let's get to it. Well, I have already submitted these questions to Dr. Smith, but we're going to just enjoy and have some fun. And again, if you have questions, I want to encourage you to please make sure that you go to my website, which is endaseducation.com. Submit your research questions, and we are going to do our very best to address your questions as we continue with this wonderful podcast. So let me ask you the first question, and that is, what are your recommendations, or why do you think that a primary purpose of the introduction to a research paper is important?
Well, the primary purpose of the introduction is to one, set the pace for your dissertation. It also is supposed to outline the dissertation, and it's supposed to give the process on answering all your research questions for the dissertation.
Okay, wonderful. And so share with us, what was your main research question for your dissertation?
My main research question was, what are the graduation success rates of student athletes?
One of the things that is important for a main research question is to make sure that your audience is aware of what your purpose of your research is all about and how add information to the body of knowledge. So, Dr. Smith, talk to us or share with us, how did you come up with your main research question?
First, I wanted to talk about another subject. I wanted to talk about Black swimmers and the collegiate world.
Mhm.
And so I had my mentor to come in and he told me, because it was more information, more data, more knowledge on the graduation rates, more so
Mhm.
than what I was looking for. What he always expressed was a good dissertation is a finished dissertation. So
Right.
that was his concept. So that's how I got into it, and that was how I got into the graduation rates.
All right, so Dr. Mikos, the significance of a research study refers to its importance, impact, and contributions to a particular field of study or society as a whole. How would you justify the significance of your research?
The significance of my study was for professionals in higher education to understand the different development challenges facing student athletes in cognitive, psychosocial, affective, and behavioral domains in order to meet the needs of these students.
Okay, so you have the significance of your research actually in the introduction of your research paper. So can you
Correct.
provide us with what your outline looked like for your introduction chapter of your research paper?
And so for my chapter one, it was my introduction, then it was my statement of problem,
Mhm.
the purpose of the study, the research questions, assumptions of study, significance of the study, limitations, list of definitions, organization of the study.
Okay, so for your limitations, can you share with us what limitations did you list and that you had in your research? And I think limitations are important because a lot of times when we're doing our research, as a person who is acknowledging limitations in their research paper, it's crucial for academic integrity, and it also demonstrates researchers' awareness of the study's boundaries. So what boundaries did you provide in your research in your introduction chapter?
In my dissertation, one of the limitations was the cost of tuition are shown for overall students, and student athletes do not have their own cost of tuition.
Right. So, and that's important because if you've provided that as one of your limitations, and on all of us, whenever you put in together your subject, sometimes you don't know what your limitations are at the very beginning, but as you
Mhm.
begin to customize your dissertation, you start realizing, okay, I could have maybe interviewed more scholars. I
Mhm.
could have interviewed students outside of my scope. And so let's talk a little bit about your scope or your boundaries. You focused on students in a particular division, right?
Correct. So what I did was I researched Division I student athletes. The reason for I did Division I was because one, it was just more research on it. Two, I was familiar with it because all the schools that I went to, Alabama A&M University, University of Alabama at Birmingham, and Auburn University, are all D1 schools. So I was able to get one-on-one data from those from my institutions.
So now we've already talked about your outline for your introduction, and I know people are listening. They're probably trying to figure out how to organize the introduction. So, the introduction chapter. So, Dr. Smith, can you just share a few tips that you have on drafting the introduction chapter for their dissertation or their master's thesis?
Okay. My three tips are to make sure that the title is clear and precise. I also would say write the introduction the same way that you wrote the title. So everything needs to be lined up and outlined together. And also to write regular and not strive for perfection at this point. Your advisor, your committee chair, want to sit there, they're going to tear it up anyway. So you might as well write it as clear and as regular and as much as you can, because I promise you, they're going to come back with a red pen and give you something totally different than what you wrote.
You know,
And
that's
that's
interesting.
only to keep the
Yes.
ball going.
Yeah, and that, that's important because sometimes we can get so stuck on trying to perfect any of our chapters instead of creating draft versions of it. And I would even agree with you on the importance of creating draft versions and your drafts to your committee chair and committee members so that you don't go down the wrong lane, right? So at least if you create a draft, have an outline, which is what you just shared, an example of your outline, and start filling in the blanks, sending them examples of what it looks like. They can help, customize and develop your chapter one so that your chapter one can meet the standards that is necessary for them to be able to first be in line with the expectations of your universities. And then at the end of the day, they have to sign off for it. So I totally agree with you with that process. That red pen is interesting though,
Right. It's going to go. And then the thing is, I look at it as a lot of time is wasted on chapter one. So
Yes,
you sit up here and you're writing, and you're writing something that's wrong. And you
right.
wasted 3 to 4 months instead of just giving it to your professor and just say, hey, look at it probably on a weekly or maybe on a monthly basis. Just give it to them once a
Mhm.
month and just go ahead and try to see what needs to be done. People wait 3 to 6 months to try to give them something that's of perfection
Right.
and all of it is wrong. So you just don't want to
Yeah.
waste time.
Yeah, that was my struggle at first, and I just put it to the side and went to start, tweaking my chapter two, which was my lit review and working on
Hmm.
my methodology chapter. So I totally agree with you on that. And then you're going to get back to chapter one will adjust anyhow because once you get through chapters two, three, four, and five, or however many you have, you're going to have to go back to chapter one and start
Right.
tweaking it so that it begins to match with the whole research project as well. So I totally agree
Right.
with you on not trying to make it the perfect chapter, but definitely you want to put some things on that in that chapter to begin to organize your research. So I
Right.
totally agree with you. Let's talk a little bit about lit review. I know this is something we hadn't really discussed much, but let's talk about the lit
Mhm.
review. So my question is, did you start your lit review process when you were in dissertation status, or did you begin your lit process before you began your dissertation status? And I know we're focusing on chapter one, but did the lit review or chapter two play any role while you were developing chapter one, or was it after you finished chapter one?
I began my lit review when I started writing down my research questions. So of
Okay.
course you're trying to gather all the journals, you're trying to gather all the information you can. So I say whenever you start reading, that's when chapter two starts.
Okay.
Whenever it's not your information, that's your chapter two. So
Right.
yeah, my information. So I day one, I was doing chapter two. So
Yes,
while I'm doing my introduction, I'm doing my chapter 2. I'm lining everything out. So that's how
right.
mine went out.
I like that because even though we're not making chapter one perfect, one of the things that you said is it sets the pace, right?
Right.
It's the outline of the dissertation. It answers the question. So as you begin to fill out chapter one, you can start putting in different parts, and I call it my buckets for chapters two, chapter
Hmm.
three, chapter four, and chapter five, or whatever, your lit review, your methodology chapter, your discussion, your questions, your results, and the information that's really, really important as it relates to the introduction. I know people are listening, and I think even though we're talking about, the simplicity of chapter one, the introduction, I do agree with you that chapter one can be the Achilles heel for so many people, and it
Hmm.
actually can create that wall of moving forward. So some of
Correct.
the tips that you provided are very, very important, are very important to help people to get along the way when it comes to writing their dissertation. Did you have any type of additional input, maybe not just from your advisors, but did you have any support systems? I talked about tools, but tools can be people, tools can be that support to help get you out of that chapter one so that you can move forward with the rest of your dissertation.
So back in 2019, 2018, whenever I started, well, that's when
Hmm.
I finished. There
Yeah,
weren't as many resources that it is
mhm,
now. So
yeah,
what I had was the library,
yeah,
the internet, and my mentors. So
yeah,
those were the tools that I was using, and just old fashioned paper and pencil. So
yeah.
that's weird. But now, I mean, resources are unlimited now. So
Mhm.
it's truly a difference.
Yes. Now, how much, just, on an average, if you can remember, how much time did you spend in the library?
So every time I visited the campus, I was in the library, I would say maybe 3 to 4 hours a day.
Mm,
Maybe
yes.
3 to 4. I mean, I was real old school. Like I
Yeah.
like I I was staying with my buddy. I was living in Atlanta, Georgia at the time, and
Hmm.
my buddy was living in Auburn during that time as well. So I just stay on his couch, and then I just wake up whenever he's getting ready to go to work. I just go ahead and just go straight to the library where I check in my professor first and see what all I need to do and make sure, let her go ahead and do what she was going to do with that red pen. And then I would go straight to the library and do what needs to be done. So
Yeah.
I would spend about 3 to 4 hours there, grab lunch, and then go back.
Yeah, I'm old school as well. I'm still old school. I still believe in the library experience. I
Hmm.
also encourage those of you who are working on your dissertation, even if you are doing distance learning, go to a local library, go to another university, because a lot of times universities will allow you to come visit their libraries. They have places where you can come, even if you're not a student, and be able to sit and just get that culture and that environment of research, and being a researcher. So I'm totally a 100% an advocate for going into a library. So
Right,
old school,
right,
and maybe there's just the old school in all of us, in the both of us,
right.
but I'm a fan of the library. Well, I really do appreciate you taking the time and sharing with us your tips and your experiences for building and preparing your introduction for your dissertation. I know that people are listening to you and are appreciative of what your tips are have been, because again, the introduction seems to be the very first part that keeps us from moving forward with getting to the rest of our dissertation. So I totally hopefully everybody will be encouraged to do that and to move forward with that. So for more information about Dr. Mikos and the projects that he's working on, he is working. I'm going to put that. Can I put it out there a little bit? What you're doing right
Yes,
now?
ma'am. Go ahead.
All
Yes,
right.
ma'am.
So he is also an author, and he is working on books, which is what this is all about. And he and I have been talking about the importance of going life beyond the dissertation, life beyond postdoc. And so we'll definitely have more information on our website of what his projects look like. So make sure you keep your ears plugged to the ground to get that information. Well, this wraps up this episode on writing the introduction to your dissertation. I hope these tips help you approach your next helps you with your dissertation process. with clarity, bringing you confidence, and making sure that the information is going to impact your world. So don't forget to please do me a huge favor. Make sure that you like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and share this video with someone who you know will benefit from the information that we share. So again, thank you so much. Thank you for watching this show. Please make sure that you take the time to enjoy life while you are writing on your dissertation. Again, thanks for tuning in to this podcast. Until next time, keep writing, keep presenting, and keep pushing your research forward. God bless.